Welcome back to Watching Film and Varnadore Films. I'm Seth Varnadore. I was a former college and high school football coach for a decade. Now I break down film here on YouTube with a particular emphasis on the Florida Gators. So Florida had a hard-fought game last week against Missouri, but it seems like people don't really there was some enjoyment in trying to learn from the losses earlier this year. It seemed like the Arkansas game maybe broke some people. So a little bit of a look forward here instead of a look back, and what I think is probably pretty relevant for the final regular season game here against Florida State is Max Brown. What has he done? What can he do? What have we seen from him before? And then how do we think FSU is going to play him? So without much further, let's get into it and see what we might see from the Gators this weekend and Max Brown. So we'll start with the passing game. Most of his attempts, right, have come in blowouts. So you're not going to see him pushing the ball vertically a ton. But I think you'll see a lot of this. Boots of different varieties, getting him on the run. Not his best throw there, but different varieties of boots, get him out of the pocket. We saw it. Florida called, I think, 3 on 2nd and longs for him against Missouri. Here's the first one. I think this was a 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10. He's really good at getting out of the pocket and making accurate throws. Here's another really accurate throw he makes here on, again, kind of the same concept. You're seeing, and this is why we talked about conceptually, right? Whether he runs a corner or a go, it's all flood, right? It's all 1, 2, 2, 3. Lord. We're high-lowing this guy. We've got a vertical stretch here, and then with that coming across, that creates a horizontal stretch. So high-lowing people, stretching people horizontally and vertically. And he's shown the ability to make these throws on the move. And he's gotten a lot of opportunities. So I think this is definitely something we'll see a ton from Florida. And I think a lot of play action in general. So here's against Missouri. They go kind of a concept they really like, Florida double curls. This will be interesting to see how much we get this formation here. So 12 personnel, you got 2 tight ends right here, but both of them kind of as wings. So you got a double wing look. You got the same look here against McNeese State earlier this year. This can present some interesting options for you in terms of the read game and the quarterback run game. I'd be really. I would imagine we're going to see a little bit of this. I think it gives you some interesting kind of variations you can run, because you could run split zone out of it with a bluff. You could run, double bluff. You could run, all kinds of different things with this double wing look. So I think we see some of that this next weekend. But here's kind of against Missouri, pretty similar. Now they don't protect it up here, and that's going to be an issue, I think, against Florida State, is right. And you can see the double curl here, where if I have time to come off this fake, probably work right here. And you can see his eyes working back there. Here's one of his few kind of more downfield throws this year. A little bit of a spacing concept against Vanderbilt with a backside slant. Or I'm sorry, a backside, this is not spacing, a backside kind of looks almost like the hooker route, or the kind of the corner curl that they run on their concept called hooker. But you kind of get slow off the line here, coming across here. So you got a spacing look. And he throws a nice ball here on time and on target. You can really see that from this back view here. On target throw. Gets through the read. So some quick game stuff. I mean, and that spacing is something, go back to the spring game. Down here, you got spacing. Up here, you got slant, I believe. And he works the slant with the pressure. And we all remember that spring game, how much pressure the quarterbacks were under. So he's shown the ability to make some throws. There's a drop there, but good throw by him. And here's another look at you're running spacing in a different way, but it's still spacing down here, slant to the top. And this is one of Florida's staples in the quick passing game. And then here's one of the other ones, just double slants to both sides against Missouri. Really well thrown ball. Right, if that's back here, defensive back can make a play on it. Throwing it to the upfield shoulder there, give that guy a chance to use his body, make the catch, right? So one of the few throws we've seen him push vertically is the double move there. Probably, could be sluggo seam, but just that double move to the outside. Ball's thrown in a good spot. Gives your receiver a chance to make a play on the ball, and Jackson there makes a really good play on it, obviously. And then in the spring game, we got to see him run a little Y cross action, or it's kind of similar to a Y cross look, where you're in here coming across. You got the dig coming back behind it, vertical here. He's going to the flat. And makes a pretty good throw here on a deep in route. As kind of his pressure hanging down on him. And this is another thing they did in the spring that we saw is a little package play. So what's the package play? So I can hand it to the back. That's option number 1. Option number 2, I can keep it in the read game as the quarterback. Option number 3, I can throw the screen out here. Option number 4, I can throw the hitch to the top. So if this corner's off and bailing, I can throw that hitch. If I got the numbers down here, I can throw the screen. If I don't like either of these outside, I can run the read game here. So here you got a package play. He could pull that. Now, if they totally package it up, would they want the read element? What you'll probably see is instead of him kicking here, he'll wrap, and it'll be a bluff. So where he's there, and then now your read element is that guy. Here's against Vanderbilt, kind of a little bit of a package play where you've got, I can throw the screen down here if I like the numbers. I've got a route up here, or I've got the run in here. So you'll probably see a little bit of this. It's an easy decision for the quarterback, right? I just kind of look at numbers and leverage and take the throws if they're there. If not, work the run game. Here you have a run called, but you always kind of have if you get single coverage, you have these go routes attached to the run. We've seen Mertz pull these and throw them a couple times. They've also thrown kind of the slot fades off these as well. But don't be afraid to push the ball vertically if you get a one-on-one, right? In the run game is probably going to look the most different. There may be a little bit less pure drop back than there was with Mertz, but the run game is obviously where things change a little bit. And you get into what people are calling the modern triple option, right? I've been talking, if you've been following me since USF, we've been talking modern triple stuff since like 2020, but it's really starting to take off. And it's basically, the triple option is you have a dive guy. So the back is your dive guy. You have a keep guy. That's a quarterback, right? So I can give the dive, I can keep it, or I can pitch it, right? So who's the pitch guy? Here, he's the pitch guy. So right now, I have 3 options. 1, 2, 3. It just involves a throw instead of a pitch. So right here, as he goes inside, I keep it. And now you see the receiver's presenting his numbers. I could throw it to him, or I can keep this thing. He decides to keep it. That's fine. Here's another look. modern triple. Motion the back, or motion receiver in the backfield and send him. Right? I don't have the tight end coming across now. But there's my dive guy. Quarterback's still my keep guy. Here's my pitch guy. So there you go. He pulls it. He plays pitch. And now I keep it. And it's pretty good athleticism to run away from some athletic guys on that Missouri defense. So that'll be a lot of fun to see kind of how that looks against Florida State. Here's kind of a bluff, right? If you don't want that third element, right? You don't want the pitch element, and you just want to kind of have the quarterback read element or the zone read element, right? So their motion here. And then you'll see Florida a lot of times run that split flow zone, that split zone look where the tight end or H-back on the front side is coming across the formation and kicking out. Right here, you'll see he comes across the formation, and then it's a bluff. He's going to wrap around him. He widens to play quarterback. That opens up the run lane here. And then here's kind of Florida last year running a little bluff. So I went back and looked at this Florida State game last year. Just off the top of my head, I thought I remembered them doing a little bit more quarterback run. And you go back through and you see some examples of things you didn't see a ton of during the year, but last game, as Dan Fouts once said in the Cinematic Classic, The Water Boy, last game of the year, can't hold anything back. So here's another look at kind of a bluff look a little bit. So here's that double wing look we talked about earlier. Where you can actually, what's interesting is you can do things like this where he arcs as he widens with the arc. Then you also have another one coming in here. You can hand that. I thought it was interesting how much attention, obviously this guy drew a lot of attention. How much attention is Max Brown going to draw? I would imagine less. So they might want to make him keep it. But you can kind of see that just having that element in the run game kind of helps things out. But they did some different things running the ball with the quarterback last year in this game that they hadn't done a ton of. They've done a little bit, but this is just kind of quarterback wide zone where you just run your normal wide zone. And since I can run my quarterback, I pick up an extra blocker in here and I'm just running the quarterback on the same track. For the lineman, it changes nothing. It just changes it for the quarterback in the back. I don't know if you'll see that because obviously Richardson was a big dude, but last game you need a win, so you kind of throw it all out there. A little bit of counter read could be in play as well. So it's tough to run counter read out of this kind of set because you got to pull. You're pulling these two ideally, and you got a back block there, right? So typically, if I'm not reading this guy, it's tough because I need somebody to block the back side here to help me control it. So a lot of times you'll see the tight end here, and you'll see this where you get the kick there, and then the tight end is the second puller. But when you've got the quarterback in the run game, and this is something you saw a ton from Lincoln Riley, and you still do. If the quarterback can be in the run game, well, now I can pull both these guys, block down here, and I'll just read him. And that gives me gives me the best of both worlds there a little bit. But you'll see, I think this is something you're going to get a lot from Florida State. You'll see it here, and I have other examples. I think you're going to see a lot of two off the edge to eliminate stuff like this, right? To kind of, now if you're going to give it, you could still be in pretty good shape on the front side, but on the back side, it'll eliminate some of the quarterback run stuff and some of your boot stuff. Florida also ran a little power read off the jet sweep, which is something they haven't shown a ton. So if you got this wide guy and he's a pretty good player, you feel like, I don't want to block that guy. Well, just read him. Get up in there. Those type of runs are ones I'm not sure how much you see from Florida. But I just want to put all the different kind of ways they ran quarterback run game last year against Florida State on here. And then here's another look at kind of the same idea with counter. Motion him out, try to get guys out of the box. Wrap guys around and get your quarterback in the run game. Now, you go in here and dig this guy out. You get one-on-one with a corner. You can block it up a few different ways. But Florida State's corners are involved in the run fits. Here's a look at, is Florida State going to play it like this? So, are they going to kind of gap exchange where he's playing more down inside and you let the backer wrap over the top for the quarterback? I think you'll see some of that where I'm down inside. I wrap him for the quarterback, right? Well, people started doing that a ton because you'd see a lot of this where he'd leave, I'd fly inside, make the quarterback think it's a pull read, and as I pull it, this guy's flying over the top for me, right? You just exchange the gaps. But I would imagine you see a little bit of that from Florida State. But I don't think you'll see quite as much attention played to the quarterback, right? If you're Florida State, you probably want to make Max Brown keep more of these, right? So you may not see as much, but this kind of stuff where you're bringing two off the edge, if the guys are, if they fit it correctly, it can really hurt like the boot stuff, and it could hurt, obviously, the read game stuff. So I'd imagine you'll see some two off the edge. And that's kind of one thing if you go back and watch last year's game against Florida State. Second half, I think they realized that Florida's receiver crew was a little bit limited. So they decided, hey, man, we're just going to blitz on third, especially on third downs. We're going to blitz. And I'd imagine you see a lot of that man coverage blitz against the backup quarterback. If you can beat him downfield and make him pay, maybe you can get him out of it. But last year they seemed to feel they could match up pretty well, and they could for the most part. But I think Florida's a little bit better outside than they were when this game was played last year. So we'll see if they do that. Obviously, boot. This is going to be a big part of it for Florida. You see, he's going to kind of slow play it, and they may have these guys slow play all night just so they can redirect for boots and things of that nature, right? But the other answer is, right, if I'm booting here and I'm bringing him and a second guy off the edge, he can go take this. Second guy can take that. That's why I think you see Florida maybe a little bit more of this where it's not the back faking here. He's actually out the front side as part of this, so I can try to get it on him quickly. Like you can probably get the ball on him right now, let him run. So, but here's more of the second half. They just said, we're blitz and we're bringing guys. They started bringing guys. Florida had some problems with it up front, but Florida was able to run the ball kind of right at Florida State last year. So obviously Florida's not quite as good as they were up front last year, but it seemed like they're getting lathered up a little bit the last few games running the football. If that's something that they can consistently do, obviously that'll be a big help with their backup quarterback. But if you're Florida State and you don't want to blitz, so here's one that is not troubling, but obviously young guy. This is a mirrored concept. It's the end of a game. You're not running like anything crazy. Mirrored concepts, go route, speed out, common concept, right? But too high look right here. He thinks he can fit that thing in there, I guess. Well, this is one where you hole shot it right here, which I think he tried to do in one of these spring games. You hole shot that. What you can't do is throw this thing out here and late. So maybe if you're Florida State, you bring some pressure, and then try to trap him. Try to run like a two trap or something where he thinks he's going to have an easy throw to the flat. Now I trap it. That one should have been picked. And you'll see here, The head man on the sidelines was none too pleased. So hopefully this is one Max learned from here. You can't throw that thing late. You'll see the head man here not super happy about that one. So hopefully we don't see a lot of that on Saturday night. Other things, just, if you are going to be heavy in the run game, if the corner is going to fit. So here, as I'm showing this here, ends down, it seems like if I pull this, the corner's up in the run fit. As he's inside, you've got opportunities back outside. So I wonder if you see some play action or even some where I can pull this thing, he can get back outside, maybe an easy throw off of that read look. If the corner is in the fit, especially, to the field here, I've got a lot of room for my best receiver to make something happen. The key is protecting it, which is going to be, I think, the difficult part for Florida. And then I think we'll probably see a little bit of this wildcat look. Unfortunately, I don't know how well either of these guys throw the ball, the backs, but you saw them go to it. You got a procedure penalty, but I'd imagine you're practicing that a little bit more this week. So we might see a wildcat look. We've seen it a few times throughout Napier's tenure, but I don't think it'll be a big part of the game plan, but it might be a part of the game plan with your backup quarterback. So, I mean, I would imagine, right, you're going to get a lot of blitz, a lot of coverage rotation, things like that from Florida State. The key for Florida, obviously, you don't turn the football over. And if you can run right at Florida State, doesn't matter if you're rotating coverages. If I can just kind of bully you up front. Florida was able to get in 12 personnel last year, run duo, which is like a downhill run, and just kind of run right at Florida State for most of that game last year. If you can repeat that recipe and then have your quarterback make a couple plays here and there, that's obviously probably the recipe to win. I don't think the recipe to win is to drop back 30 times and throw a lot of, 10, 15-yard intermediate throws. It's going to be probably quick game, RPO stuff, screen game. And if you can get all that working, I think you got a shot. But you never know. First real action here, I think Florida State would probably play more for the run game, probably try to bring guys in the box and make you beat them. And if you can, you've got some pretty good receivers. So if you can beat them, you can make some big plays. But I would imagine that's the way they go. So we'll see what wrinkles Florida has for Max Brown in the passing game, what wrinkles they have in the running game. I think will be really interesting, and maybe some wildcat stuff. But I would imagine Florida State tries to put it on him to win this game. And if he can become entrenched in Gator lore, right? Make a bowl game, but maybe beat Florida State and ruin their season. That would be lovely for the Gators. So thank you guys for watching on this pre-Thanksgiving day. We'll be back maybe next week. If Florida wins, we'll be back next week. If not, we'll see. I think we're going to have a lot of staff movement in the offseason, it sounds like. So anytime a new hire gets made, we'll definitely be looking at it from the scheme perspective, and then we'll get some guys in here to big picture stuff, advanced stat stuff. We'll do some fun stuff in the off season. But thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help me game the YouTube algorithm. Have a happy Thanksgiving.